Hey, Stoney here with another game of Mechabellum. And if you want to see how carry fangs can be used defensively against an aggro player, here's the game for you. Let's go. Alright, at the bottom here we have Professor Chaos playing as a quick supply specialist, and he's up against Masky Art playing as a giant specialist. And I believe this game's MMR is around high 1900 to low 2000, so very high MMR game. Right out the bat here, we can see some funny business coming in from our blue player with vertical sledges and dome crawlers all the way on the side. This must be something that he's cooking recently, because not only he's got these units in this specific composition, there's also a giant spot right there in the middle. I don't know if this is big enough to fit in a war factory, but you can definitely fit in a fortress right here. But unfortunately, these units are on the wrong side of the battle, and Masky decided to go ASIM aggro with the spiders and marksman on the other side. Now, this is going to be a very interesting round one because I feel like the Stormcaller is actually going to get tower a lot sooner and start bombarding coming from the right to the left. So we're going to have to see how the first round plays. I'm more interested in how both players are going to respond in the second round. And I feel like the red player probably have an easier time defending versus our blue player because, yeah, it's a lot easier to defend against Stormcaller strategies than Spider, Marksman, and Chaff. Alright, with bow tower down and the crawlers moving in, this is actually going to be a pretty big round here for our red player. Alright. Round 2, we got reinforcements. Couple great cards. Mass-produced Wraith could be interesting, just to kind of give pressure on that side. Elite Phoenix is too expensive. Shield Drop is also a very balanced card if you want to use it. So for red, it's going to be a continued aggro, picking up the Improved Sandworm. Improved Sandworms are a lot better at chaff clear because of that increased splash range of 5 meters. It also increases an attack, so when like an improved sandworm, you can always see it as like assault sandworm because everything it does is focusing on dealing as much damage as possible in a big wide area. All right, looking at the board here, there's going to be a cell on the sledgehammer. Instead of the one in the middle, it's going to be the one on the side. I think he's trying to hedge himself against a cheeky missile. There's going to be a distraction crawler, so that's the answer. Instead of directly facing this army head on, I think Red's goal is just to distract them long enough so that he can push down and get tower on the other side. It is now the blue player bringing in the first giant instead of the giant specialist coming from red, and it's going to be a Vulcan. So it's going to be a Vulcan, a Stormcaller, 0 chaff, which means this Vulcan has the dual responsibility of chaff clear, but also tanking all the sniper shots. Now the question is, would that be enough? The Vulcan unfortunately locked on to the Tarantula, which means the spider, which means the crawlers are now coming in and eating up the rest of his army. However, they may be a cheeky tower capture, but yeah, no, this tower is now level 2, which means this round is going to end very similar to the previous round. Ooh, hold on a thought, because we actually have a brilliant tower timing, now killing all 3 marksmen under barrage by these Stormcallers. Wow, this is such a big swing just based on the tower timing here. I wonder if the Stormcaller is able to get the spider, and if it can, there's going to be a win for our blue player. Now, whenever you see a weird board like this, you have to stick with your fundamentals, right? So, first of all, let's talk about unit drop. We have Rhino, a great card for an aggro player. You can create a lot of tempo with the Rhino, whether it's Boom Rhino or just Whirlwind Rhino, right? Because you can now create multiple angles of entry for your opponent's board. Fire Badger is actually an excellent card defensively, but it's very hard to pass 4 squads of level 2 fans. I think that's going to be the best option for our blue player, considering right now there's 0 chaff on his board, and there it is. Yeah, so very good option for squads of level 2 fans. Level 2 fans, once you give them range and later on mech rage, they can also serve as a carry unit. I'm actually surprised that he's putting level 2 fans so far forward. I would just keep that level 2 fan somewhere in the back and just put down a level 1 fan, because you know that unit is never going to kill anything in that forward position. I'm also surprised that this is the sort of formation that he's going for. Being a high MMR player, I mean, this is really weird. All right, so we're gonna have units coming down here. Rhino is already getting a tower with the mobile beacon, and then Blue is just absolutely getting murdered here on the left-hand side. And this is gonna hurt because we essentially have a whole lot of army left over. All right, units are running back towards the other squad of Stormcallers. Can this Rhino actually survive? And it looks like it's got full health, so it should be able to survive just a little bit longer, at least until the arc light is dealt with. And it actually survived until the end of the round, so that's a huge amount of damage done. Advanced offensive tactics is great for our blue player, running units that are both small or shoots very quickly, so I would definitely love to see that, but instead it's going to be intensive training for both players. And now going full fan carry, mech rage, range with all this fans. Not entirely sure of if I like the positioning. I mean, all red needs to do is get 2 squads of Stonecrawlers and boom, everything dies here, right? Not a fan of that. But these sort of this airplane formation, like the fighter jet formation, it is going to provide this Vulcan with a lot of cover. So if that was the original intention, then this is quite nice. Red is taking advantage of the fact that there's not a lot of huge hitters, so it's getting armor on this Rhino that protects both against the Vulcan as well as these level 2 fangs. However, there's not going to be nope, there's actually 3 Rhinos. I thought it was actually a cell. It's just that the original Rhino from the last round was actually going into the tower first before spinning over, but now everything is just focusing on the left-hand side. The Stonecrawler was sold by our blue player. I wonder if that was a mistake, because that Stonecrawler actually did a lot of damage for the last, well, pretty much since the beginning of the game, because everything else dies on the left-hand side, and the Stormcrawler was able to capitalize on the tower debuff. All right, looking at the side here, the units are still coming in. The Vulcan is being locked onto the Rhino is not able to clear this chaff, and it's going to be another big round. I mean, if you had those Stormcrawlers, you would at least get a Rhino, maybe a Spider, but because you've sold them right now, these units can't even get a Rhino. The situation is actually quite dire for our blue player here. Now, one thing to keep in mind though, he is running carry fangs, which means there is an opportunity for these fangs to level and get damage. But what he needs right now is actually very tanky stuff, and a Typhoon might be the tanky stuff he's looking for. Take Typhoon, take Shield, right? And that will be able to get even more. You can delay your opponent even more on both ends. But instead, it's going to be Steel Balls. Interesting. So Steel Balls and now taking Replicate onto these crawlers. I really would love to see +1 on the attack because of so many units, fans that's going around here. The purpose of the Steel Balls is mostly for these Rhinos. Once you get through the Rhinos, then the fans can do its full damage to the rest of the board. But what I'm really worried about is this Wraith. I don't know if this fan have what it takes to bring down this Wraith before it kills everything. And if it does, the next turn, they can just level the Wraith and get range, and it will be more or less safe from a lot of these fans. I mean, there are only about 10 meters of range difference between a ranged Wraith and a ranged fan. Alright, this is the first time of us seeing the improved Sandworm coming onto this board in this game. I'm not entirely convinced that the Sandworm is required here. If anything, I would love to see some Stormcallers, just kind of get rid of the stuff at the front. I mean, aside from just getting in not quick enough, I think Red's board is phenomenal. I mean, it's doing a whole lot of damage. It's been winning pretty much in the last couple rounds. And it's preventing the opponents from scaling. So right now, I mean, the Sandworm, they're just stuck killing chaff. This is what is, I mean, this Sandworm does a little bit more damage, but yeah, mostly just sticking around killing crawlers, and that's not what you need your Sandworm to do. All right, blue is going to take his first win of the game. Wow. All right. If I am the red player, Sticky Oil Bomb is going to be excellent. Just drop it down there, get a few fire collars, spray fire on here, and all of these fans will just die. Mobilized Battleship taken from the blue. I think it's going to give a very sneaky backdoor play here. There's no anti-air whatsoever. In fact, the anti-air is quite weak with only these 3 marksmen, which means if blue wants, he can just go with boats, like a quick boat switch with jump beacon or with jump drive or mobile beacon. Going into either of these towers could be very beneficial. Oil is going to come down for our red player. Well played. So even if there's a shield that's covering this area, you're still going to get a pool of oil up front, which means some of your fans are going to get burned and you're going to have a better time. We have a level 2 versus level 1 crawler situation. I think the level 2 is going to win. And of course, we have them on the other side as well. I honestly believe that the Sandworm is probably not the best use of your money here. Getting Stormcallers and potentially preparing for some sort of air transition might be better. Sandworms, they don't do really well against steel balls if they have suck. Yeah, so you wanted something that you can navigate around the steel balls. All right, here we go. Let's first watch this boat taking down a few steel balls and then moving on to the tower. Lots of crawlers winning the fight here with the replica and now all the way coming over to the center of the map. Here goes the tower. And this is actually a super timely tower. Here's another tower, so it's going to be double tower. We have level 3, level 2 steel balls. Absolutely destroying everything with suck. And of course, we still got this boat left over. Without this tower, I don't think blue would have won this round. But with the tower and also a double tower on the other hand, I think that was a very good tempo. Bolt-on mission. It's going to be great for both players, but I think it's more so going to be for the red player. I'm surprised he didn't want to upgrade his rhinos, but I guess with the steel ball already on the field, this is kind of a mistake. The Sandworm also kind of a mistake, so yeah. Blue is going to go into a hard pivot into air, which I absolutely approve. Chain gun is going to be so good against these single units on the ground here. For our red player, I think I've said it many times, Stonecrawlers, but he's also anticipating some sort of air pivot coming in from blue. And I think most importantly is that he didn't want to have ground units to deal with his high-level steel balls. The positioning is going to be a little bit unfortunate because blue actually has some chaff. He's got some fans, he's got some crawlers, whereas red does not. And these two boats are just going to lock onto the red player and destroy them before they can get to the tower. So that's very unfortunate positioning for our red player. Lots of missile going down. A mobile beacon from our blue player, capturing a few fans and a Stormcaller all the way to the other side. Very interesting. I wonder what's the purpose of that. I think he was just trying to save more of these high-level fans from these crawlers. Speaking of, what happened to the Vulcan? Why isn't a Vulcan here? Without the Vulcan, these fans will have to take so long to destroy these crawlers, and now they're actually going to get tower. Didn't understand that decision at all. I feel like that Vulcan was such a critical piece of that strategy. Maybe he's afraid of these steel balls and the sandworm and just decided, hey, I have enough chaff clear with these fans. I'm not entirely sure. Another huge round for our red player, bringing blue down to just 816 HP. I think Fire Badger is a must take, right? For our blue player. For our red player, it's going to be Wasp, knowing that he probably needs a bit of support to these two overlords. However, Wasp is very risky into range and mech rage and level 6 fans. Alright, so it's going to be AA on this Wasp. Blue can also take AA Wasp if he just determined to win the air battle. I think Blue has a better chance of keeping this Wasp alive for the rest of the game, considering he's the one with his super jacked high level fans. But I also feel like Fire Badgers, they can tank, they can get rid of the chaff, they can protect your fans. I mean, that's really what you need at the end of the day. You just need to keep your fans alive, and then you should be able to win this game. But instead, it's just going to be a mirror matchup with overlords and fans, and of course, wasps. Alright, Wasp are exchanging fire, but I think with the initial mobile beacon and also just the two Overlord tanking a little bit, red player's Wasp is going to win this fight. And once they win this fight, they should be able to swim by and start shooting at his Overlords. But it looks like they're just being distracted by this big orange steel ball. Very interesting, because in a normal circumstance, I feel like the red player would have won this round, but because of the mobile beacon diverging and moving some of the high level fans away from it, and now they're able to fight as a unified force after regrouping with the army from the east. And this game, surprisingly, this round is actually going to go to blue. And that's a huge round as well, as now both players are sort of in equal footing. Laser sight must pick. Please level up the level 7 fang and please put the laser sight on it. I love the mobile beacon play and kind of keep pushing it backward. And I love the fire. He's anticipating a similar strategy of moving fans back in that direction. And he's getting the fire in preparation for that to happen. So brilliant mind games coming in from both players. We're going to have some charge shot Phoenix with no protection at the front whatsoever. He is able to get at least one of these bows very quickly, but I'm not entirely convinced that he can get both of these bows. What really kills red last turn was these high level fans in the end of the game, end of the round here. So, and look at this. The fans are going to be moved over and they're going to walk right into the fire. So that's a brilliant mind read coming in from our red player. Lots of missiles going around, destroying the chaff here. Charge shot Phoenix didn't even get to do anything before it was taken down. But yeah, I mean, we are losing the air fight here. The fans, though, are running into the fire, which means there still might be a chance. Let's see how good the tower timing it is on the far left. Looks like red player may, the blue player may have it in the bag, not because of all the heavy hitters, but mostly just because the sheer number of chaff that's currently still on the board. And with the last anti-air gone, I think, whoa, there's going to be one more round. All right. Both players didn't even see what the cards were available. Everyone just took nuke because they know this is going to be the final round. With so many air units that's already deployed, I think nuke could be very powerful. Red is going to put nuke right in front where the AA Wasp are going to be. And I wonder, what is blue gonna do? Alright, here's the third tech, fan shield. I think at this point, these fans are quite self-sufficient. Red doesn't actually have chaff clear or good chaff clear, with the exception of maybe this wraith, but they won't survive long enough in engagement with these fans. Blue is still holding on to the laser sight. I think he might have forgotten the laser sight. I would just put it on this level 8 fans. I mean, they are such huge units, it doesn't even matter. Continue to pull units backwards. I think he anticipates a nuke maybe on this side. But this is a wild game. On the far right, instead of having chaff at the front to block the shots from the overlords, he added a chaff in the back, which means the phoenixes are going to get instant killed. Blue is adding additional fans as chaff, which is really good for him. However, I think we are having a very cheeky cheese coming in from behind from the blue player, getting the tower early. And nuke does land for both sides. We still have really high level fans running around, and we have a reserve fan that's all the way coming into the back. And the most important fact is there's now no upshoot coming in from our red player, and it's going to be GG for our red player. So what a strange game. Not only we have a lot of carry fans in a defensive position, we're using them even more defensively by pulling them away and letting them to sort of scoop and shoot. I really enjoyed that. Well, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, I got another one that's even better. Check it out, and I'll see you on the next one.
Prepare your tactics. Mechabellum's calling. Deploy your fortress. The battlefield's alive with swarms.